Reginald here. Scarlet Witch is better than Hela. On April 13th, 1612, Miyamoto Musashi and Sasaki Kojiro held a duel on Ganryujima Island. Miyamoto arrived by boat, purposefully late, and won his duel against the famous swordsman with a boat oar that he had hand-carved into a wooden practice sword. Those weren't just fun hooks for this video, they're illustrative of a principle I'd like to discuss. Off-meta comps winning versus meta comps. How this works, and especially why it works at some elos better than others, to be specific. To be clear, I've seen it a bunch of times, especially in my lower elo games as I climbed my way up to Celestial on kneecapped Season 1.5 Mr. Fantastic of all things. And I'm sure you've seen it too, the supposedly D-tier Crimson Witch going 46-5 and blowing up whole teams with her ult, or the unkillable, unstoppable Iron Fist who never gives the enemy space to breathe, or that Jeff the Shark who actually doesn't throw your game. It can happen, but sometimes it's not just one hero, it's your whole team doing something goofy, and then you win. How exactly does that happen? How is it that a bunch of supposedly bad heroes put together can win a game against the supposedly meta compositions? Let's talk about it. First of all, I just want to say this. Assuming you're not in the top 3% of the player base, then the difference in capabilities between a meta hero and a non-meta hero is almost certainly not big enough for the people in your lobbies to exploit to any degree that matters. In fact, it may well be the opposite. There is a reason everyone in lower elos hates Spider-Man and bans him as soon as they hit Diamond, and probably will have him on permaban as soon as we hit Season 2 and bans open up in Gold. And that's because the mechanical, technical, and logistical skills required to turn him into an irrelevant dust mote just don't exist in the elo most of the player base is playing in. Instead, he's this unholy terror that descends from nowhere and turns off your healing before disappearing again unpunished. Which is exactly why I want to introduce you to my next spicy little concept called local minima. In the domain of machine learning, there is a problem, an optimization problem, where when you are engaging in gradient descent algorithms to solve a specific problem through mathematical optimization, as you're solving closer and closer to the ideal optimization, there is a moment when, whoopsies, your algorithm gets stuck at a locally efficient plateau. Let me try to simplify that for you because I know I probably sounded like Giga jargon. Imagine solving a problem, any problem at all. How about the problem of trying to get better at Marvel Rivals, as a ball rolling down a hill? One might say you are optimizing your gameplay to achieve more wins, for example. As you develop new solutions to the winning problem, you are actually a ball rolling downhill towards the ideal solution of winning the game. However, at any point, you could run into a plateau so long that it looks like you've hit the bottom. But if you zoom out, actually, you are just stuck. You didn't have enough inertia from rolling down the hill to overcome that stretch of flat ground. Most people just refer to this as a plateau, but I like this picture more. Now, as you try to get better at Marvel Rivals, you do start climbing up the elos to silver and gold and platinum or so on. At each elo, you are going to run into new problems you need to fix to climb higher. But at some point, you will probably get stuck. So what are some of these plateaus? Well, if you're at silver, you're very likely kind of new to the game, and right now your biggest problem is really just knowing what everything is and does and what to even try to achieve and the basics of achieving it. Things like ability usage, actually shooting the guy who's almost dead instead of the tank, like basic stuff. Once you solve that set of problems, you'll probably find yourself in gold, and from here you're probably running to new mechanical problems, like you can't aim that well and you're not having a lot of impact due to poor team fight alignment. And this is the kind of point I am trying to make. If you are at a bad aim elo, silver, gold, etc., where game sense is generally still terrible, but less of your problem than just hitting anything, then it's actually the case that a hero that doesn't require much aim is going to be more dominant compared to heroes that require aim on average, because most of the players in your elo cannot aim and cannot extract value from heroes that require it. Instead, the value of never missing is greater and solves for more of the problems that you really have. This is a local optimization, a local minima. At some point, if you keep playing and climbing on those heroes, you are going to run into diminishing returns because they are worse than heroes who can do big, huge burst damage gated only by mechanical skill. And yes, I know, you can make them work. There's lots of players in Eternity and Celestial running off meta. That's not my point. My point is, the higher you go in the elosphere, the more optimized things become for better playstyles, and then there is less room for these easy optimizations that worked at lower elos to express their value. Eventually, you will run into players who can aim very well, and those aim-based heroes have more impact than Scarlet Witch's peak impact. And thus, in, say, top 500, those heroes are generally regarded as bad choices. However, until you actually hit high-tier play, this character is generally basically fine, in my experience all the way through GM, and not just a throw pick. This is the crux of what I wanted to talk about in this section before we move on to some others. Bad heroes work because the problems they solve are locally efficient to the elo that you're in, even if they are not globally efficient to the total objective, like best possible case of the game. They work in the space that you are actually playing. If you cannot aim, a hero who removes that issue in a rank where no one else can aim either actually is meta. In this sense, Crimson Witch is better than Hela in low elo. This is not a hot take, it's a logical one. And the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people at low elo are the fastest ones to complain about off-meta picks because they are trying to copy their favorite streamer's take on who is best and who is worst and what works best. But the streamer is not optimizing for your elo. They haven't seen your elo in like hundreds of hours. Or maybe they buzzed through it real quick on their 100% win rate game and just slaughtered everyone. These people are talking about what works in their games. You need to optimize for your games and the problems that are in your games. If your elo is the no-aim elo, win with no-aim heroes. If your elo is the people don't turn around elo, play flankers. If your elo is the people forgot the objective again elo, play objective control heroes. You need to look at the people around you and optimize for your situation, or just play what you like until you're so good that no one can stop you. Your call on that. Anyway, that's just part one, and really more of an underlying lesson I've been wanting to talk about for a while. So here's the rest of the concepts on the table today. Number 1, off-meta works by exploiting the element of surprise. 2, off-meta works by exploiting psychology, like arrogance and ignorance. Number 3, off-meta works by letting people play what they're really, really good at. Back to Miyamoto Musashi. The reason Musashi had a bit of a habit of showing up super late or on occasion early to duels was to unbalance and frustrate his opponents and exploit their psychology. He used weapons that were atypical to further unbalance or irritate his foes. If the enemy had a long sword, he brought an even longer wooden practice sword to outrange him and insult him with a fake weapon. All of this goes right into off-meta compositions and why they work. When you show up with Jeff the Shark and Rocket as your healers and an Iron Fist and Mr. Fantastic as your DPS, the enemy team is in a weird spot. How exactly do they play against this? Will their normal game plan work? If they are in any ranked elo that isn't like Eternity or something, they likely don't have the game sense nor the mechanical skill to maximally exploit their meta picks advantages into your bad comp in the first place. Instead, they are essentially suboptimally running their good stuff into your lovingly run bad stuff. This is because most players who really like the quote-unquote bad heroes really just like them and know how to use them in bad situations. However, the meta players are more used to fighting other meta heroes because that's what everyone does. It's kind of like the advantage Southpaw gets in boxing versus a normal right-handed puncher. They are at a multiplicative disadvantage. They're surprised you're running something so stupid. They're arrogant because you dummies shouldn't be doing this, thanks for the free elo. And they're largely ignorant of how to actually fight you. Fighting the odd Iron Fist one trick is fine, but fighting him with an entire team of goobers also doing weird stuff, well, that's just downright unpredictable. When exactly do the supports hit their button? When do the DPS hit their button? When is the enemy team going to ult, and what does it do again? Wait, can I shoot this guy now, or does he have some ability I forgot about that I need to worry about? All this uncertainty generates an advantage to the goofball off-meta comp that can be exploited and lead to a win. There is one other thing I alluded to that I want to double down on. People are better in hero shooters at heroes they like than heroes they don't like, because they play them more. Sometimes that means people, for personality and taste reasons, pick weird heroes. But being really good at something that is kinda bad does not mean that person is going to necessarily perform better on a better hero. Every hero takes practice, and often a person at any given elo is going to be worse off swapping to whatever you want them to swap to than what they are playing now. That's fundamentally because, in most cases, a much larger percentage of winning the game is competence on a given hero rather than just filling a slot. Not always. I mean, Rocket is easy to play, but I sort of have a term for this: agreement throwing. If I pick what you want me to pick instead of what I'm good at, we are soft throwing by agreeing to compromise. I will say that I am not a one trick. I have my preferred hero, but I have a repertoire of heroes I can play at my elo's skill level. I am confident that I can do it at any of these levels because I continued to play them as I was climbing in some games. But if you ask me to go randomly to some hero I never play because it's the meta pick or it's the counter pick, it's actually going to end quite badly. I haven't touched Wolverine since like Diamond, so don't expect me to play him well in Celestial just because they have 3 tanks and we need a solution. There's a lot of heroes and I cannot have hundreds of hours in all of them. And just to kind of drive all this home with an example, I have this really vivid memory of of a game. I was losing back in Diamond, I don't know, like Diamond 2 in season 1.5. There was an Iron Fist player on the enemy team. Our whole team was having this god-awful time with him. Everyone on the team was in agreement that he was the problem. We all had to turn around and drive him off every few seconds, so we could only take clean team fights when he was dead, because if he wasn't dead, he'd pick off a support, and just as things got started, and we'd lose the next fight. And I noticed as we were clearly losing badly, right after the second checkpoint on Spider Islands, where they were just driving right through us, no problems, that he was like 13 and 11. That's a horrible score, right? But our whole team was crying about this guy on our side. He was just a huge thorn in our side. Lo and behold, his team must have been flaming the ever-loving heck out of him because he swapped to Namor. And you know what happened? His kills to death ratio went up to about 26 to 13 by the end of the game. But man, we rolled them after that. As soon as we could take clean, linear team fights, we started winning. And we absolutely dominated the rest of that game. I just remember reading chat as several people expressed relief that he swapped from Iron Fist to Namor, and how the enemy probably had no idea he was winning them the game on Iron Fist. He wasn't even a bad Namor. He was doing fine, but their team threw away a winning advantage over a scoreboard. Their payload ground to a halt, and they never realized why it wasn't moving anymore. All right, well, I hope you had a bit of fun with this Reginald ramble session. I've been mulling around these ideas for a while, and I really wanted to just sort of spit them out, and I didn't have time to do like a giga edited video. Warm regards.
Reginald.
I would like to take a moment to express my genuine and significant gratitude to Bonehead for becoming my first Oath Taker level member. Your support really does mean a lot to me and has made it so much easier for me to continue to justify the amount of effort I pour into this channel. I'd also like to thank Miles Williams Lewis, Joseph Davison, Shackleford, and McSpand for supporting my channel through my Adept level membership. Your atypical support really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. I'd also like to extend a thank you to the rest of my members. The support helps the channel a lot. If you would like to become a member of this channel, there is a link in the description below and a join button next to the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for visiting. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.